Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. Okay, we survived the storms overnight. They've by now passed. Lost power for about an hour last night. Only reason I knew it was the alarms went off on a couple of our freezers saying that the power was cut out. And I have those on there specifically for that reason. So I know, because again, middle of the night, you don't want to know. But flipped on the lights, checked the freezers, yep, the batteries kicked in, the refrigerator was fine, everything was good. So went back to bed. About an hour later, I hear the beep, beep, beep from a few things coming back on. I was like, oh, power's back on. Okay. So no big deal. I'll see when the sun comes up today if there's any damage outside. I assume we got limbs down stuff, but didn't hear any trees come crashing down. Didn't hear the last one that did. So we'll see what happens when we get up. But everybody's fine. So last night was a long night. Of course, after we finished the live stream, albeit a couple minutes early, we turned on the presidential address. And in typical Trump fashion, he gave the longest address to Congress in history. There were a lot of historical firsts last night. Trump's speech was an hour and 40 minutes and disrupted a couple of times. But if anything, the speech was good. I wouldn't say it was great, okay? It was a good speech. He went through and discussed things that he's already done, discussed things that he's going to do, tasked Congress and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and a whole bunch of people with, this is what I want to see done, okay? This was literally a CEO giving his speech to shareholders at an annual meeting. That's literally how I saw this. This is where we were. This is what we've done. This is what we're doing going forward. Get your ass in gear. That pretty much sums it up. And Trump being a businessman, doesn't surprise me that that's how he did it. You figure he's given similar speeches 50 times in his life. Okay, no problem. But the most telling thing yesterday was the childishness of the Democrats. Exactly what I thought was going to happen. That they would come out and look like fools in front of the American public, and you would have people start to question, why the hell did I vote for these people? They're done. And it got down, there was a little bit of mudslinging last night. Trump was not going to stand up on stage and just be insulted for nearly 2 hours. He threw a couple of them back. But overall, it was a good speech. But I want to hit some of the points that were made yesterday about good and clown behavior. And the good basically coming from Trump and the clown behavior coming from the communist left. Okay. We could, of course, start out with all the women wearing their little pink dresses. Okay. It was so cute. They sat in a bunch there, and there was this little sea of pink in there. You know, because we're standing up for women's rights, as I said yesterday, the same day that they voted to keep letting men play in women's sports. And Trump made sure that he mentioned the girl that was hurt, traumatic brain injury, if you want to just use the word hurt for that, by the man who spiked a volleyball in her face. Okay. That was just embarrassing for the Democrats to see the women dressed in pink. I mean, they're taking a stand for something that they truly don't believe in. Okay. Watching Nancy Pelosi look like she was having withdrawal symptoms, her hands were moving all over the place. It was like, oh my God, where's my flask? Where's my flask? Because she couldn't literally handle the truth bombs that were coming out yesterday. But it got off to a flying start. 5 minutes into the speech, Representative Al Green from Texas I don't know what's up with Texas. Texas elects some of the most moronic people to Congress. I mean, we could talk about Dan Crenshaw. We could talk about Jasmine Crockett. Al Green's been there forever. Last night, and I called this one, Al Green became the first sitting congressman in history, first one ever, to be removed by the Sergeant of Arms from a State of the Union / presidential speech to joint session of Congress. First one ever, because he wouldn't shut up, he wouldn't yell. Mike Johnson gave him 3 chances. Mr. Green, we're not going to have these outbursts yet. He read the actual decorum on the floor, to maintain decorum. Then he told Al Green to go sit in his seat, and he didn't, and he kept yelling. And Mike Johnson showed a backbone and had the Sergeant of Arms remove Al Green from the premises. The utter disbelief in the Democrat Party was quickly apparent. All of a sudden, there wasn't any more screaming, any more yelling throughout the rest of the speech. Yeah, maybe here there was a comment, but not this joint, we're going to try to disrupt the speech. Okay. You got a kick out of this one. Maybe you saw, maybe you didn't. There were protesters that were invited by Democrats to see this speech, wearing T-shirts that said resist, that were also kicked out by security. Let's just put it that way. But no, Al Green was the first member of Congress in the history of the United States to ever have been kicked out of a presidential speech. Congratulations, Texas. You got a real winner down there. Okay. So when the Democrats couldn't go on with their verbal assault, they thought they'd hold up their little cutesy signs. On one side of one, it said false, and they'd hold it up anytime they didn't agree with something Trump said. I was trying to fact check as fast as I could the speech as it was going on yesterday. The only thing, and this is questionable, that I found that he stated that wasn't true or might not have been true was when he said that we've given Ukraine $325 billion. And we don't know, because I've heard anywhere from $100 billion to $250 billion, and now he says 325. That may or may not be true. False. Okay. Other than that, every time they held it up, they were the ones wrong, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Trump talked about Doge and all these savings that Doge has already found and listed off a whole bunch of ridiculous spending. I mean, it was just embarrassing to listen to this stuff. And so the Democrats responded by, Musk steals. Who's he stealing from? The Ugandan people, the Rwandan people? No, we want to talk about steals. Why don't we go look at Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi? You want to talk about who the thieves are in Washington? They all have little D's after their name. Yeah, that one was kind of embarrassing. Then they had another sign. On one side it said, Save Medicaid. Okay? There are no plans anywhere to cut Medicaid. The only plans that are out there are to prevent the Medicaid, Social Security, Medicare fraud, as Trump listed off again. The numbers of people over 100, 110, 120, yada, 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 all the way to the point of listing that there was somebody on the Social Security rolls, one person, who was over 350 years old on the Social Security rolls, 100 years older than the United States. Okay, congratulations. we still have somebody around from the Pilgrim era, right? But no, we can't remove them. We need to save Medicaid, yet it's not under threat. The other side of that sign was kind of humorous. It said, protect veterans. I'm a vet. Y'all know that, okay? Let's talk about who did what for veterans. In Donald Trump's first term, one of the things that he did was allow all of us to go to civilian doctors, civilian hospitals, et cetera, when we can't go to the VA. I've used that benefit numerous times. You guys know me with the poison ivy. When I get that, I head to the emergency room, which is 25 minutes away, as opposed to head to my VA clinic, which is an hour and a half away. Oh, and isn't open on the weekends when usually you're outside working, and that's when I get it. Okay. The Democrats' idea for protecting veterans, that would have been Joe Biden's illustrious idea to take the doctors out of the VA and send them down to the southern border to treat illegals crossing. Remember that? Okay. Let's talk about which side is protecting veterans. It ain't yours. I'll tell you that, Democrats. Okay. Another sign that was held up yesterday was kind of funny. Rashida Tlaib had one that said, start by paying your taxes. It's a little handwritten sign, right? I'm thinking to myself, who? Elon Musk pays his taxes. Donald Trump pays his taxes. Maybe we should do an audit on Nancy Pelosi's taxes. Hey, Miss Tlaib, maybe we should do an audit on some of your constituents and see how much money is not being paid in taxes and instead being sent back to Neanderthal countries in the Middle East. There'd be an idea. Let's see how much crime and corruption and tax evasion is happening in, Dearborn, Michigan, right? Trump announced yesterday that effective April 2nd, I got a kick out of it because he made a little joke out of it. He wanted to do it the 1st of April, but didn't want it to sound like an April Fool's joke, that reciprocal tariffs will begin for all countries, every single one of them. They charge us a 25% tariff, we're charging them a 25% tariff. They charge us 10, we're charging them 10. They don't charge us anything, we won't charge them anything. Fair trade. Okay? That's what's going to happen. And of course, the Democrats were screaming bloody murder at it. I still would love to know what runs through their head when they go, we need to give more money to the other 194 countries in the world on the backs of the American taxpayer. Are they getting kickbacks from that many people? Probably, when you look at how the net worth of some of these congressmen increase. I saw yesterday one of the congresswomen from, I think it was Maine, yeah. Her net worth went from $360,000 to $46 million in one term. That's some whopping investment success. I mean, Nancy, I guess you got your student, right? Okay. It was funny watching the Democrats playing on their phones. They'd pan over every once in a while. Elizabeth Warren got caught on camera a couple of times, sitting down, not listening to the speech, and you can see the thumbs moving. I mean, I swear they must have been having a Democrat Candy Crush tournament or something last night with all these congressmen and senators playing on their phones, not paying attention to a speech. You're a sitting U.S. congressman, congresswoman, or senator. This is what's going on in the country. You should be listening. If you're not, then all you told the American people by playing on your phone is that you don't give a rat's ass about the country. You don't care about what direction we're going to go. You're just an obstructionist. That's all you said. You're not going to listen. My way or the highway. I hate to tell you this, Democrats, your way is a dead-end road. We ain't going anywhere. We're going to stay on the interstate and keep moving forward. Okay. The attendance yesterday was kind of funny. I mean, some of the people who said they weren't going weren't there. AOC wasn't there. Chris Murphy wasn't there. There was one that was really surprising to me, who wasn't there. And I don't know the reason for it. The Supreme Court is supposed to be completely apolitical. All right? They are not supposed to be conservative, liberal. They are supposed to follow the rule of law. This is it. But Ketanji Brown Jackson decided not to come yesterday. Now, it's not mandatory that they show up. It's not mandatory that anybody goes. Okay? But when you have a Supreme Court justice thumb her nose at the President of the United States and not show up for a State of the Union, that doesn't look good. But then again, we got to remember, Ketanji Brown Jackson is on the Supreme Court not because of her great legal knowledge, but because she was a black woman. She's the DEI hire of the Supreme Court, and she knew that Trump was going to call out the end of DEI in the U.S., and so she would have been the poster child yesterday for, because of the failures of DEI, we're removing it. Okay. Gee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, I guess you are a political activist, Judge. You proved it yesterday. But there were some highlights and lowlights in here when Trump was talking about the people in the gallery that were invited. And there were some sickening things. Like when Trump introduced Laken Riley's mother and sister, and Adam Schiff couldn't bother to stand and applaud for them. He just sat there with his hands on his lap. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump, but have some respect for a mother, for a sister who lost a loved one because of bad policy. Adam Schiff is still the most despicable person to ever serve in the halls of Congress in the United States. It ain't even close, okay? There were some very heartwarming, touching parts. I mean, talking about Corey Compatore, his wife and daughters there. That was a nice tribute to him. There were two that were my favorite. Trump talking about a young boy who was 13 years old, who was dressed in a police uniform, who wanted to be a cop ever since he was little, and he was diagnosed with brain cancer 7 years ago. Doctor said he had 5 months to live. A lot of the police departments have made him an honorary police officer. And Trump yesterday gave him Secret Service credentials. That was pretty cool. But the best one had to be the teenage boy with the 4.4 grade point average who lettered in, it was either 6 or 7 different sports in high school, who comes from a family where his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather all served in the military. His dad was killed in the line of duty, and this kid's one dream was to go to West Point. And Trump told him, and apparently the kid didn't know from his reaction, at the State of the Union, that his application to West Point had been accepted. And the kid was just floored. But the coolest part about that one, if you caught it, was the little boy who was dressed in the police uniform, who just got Secret Service credentials, came over and gave the kid who just got accepted to West Point a high five. That was cool. That's America. That's what we do. We support each other. We help each other. We're happy when other people see success. We mourn when other people have a loss. Unless you're a Democrat. Because when everything was over last night, you'd think there was a $1.99 breakfast special or happy hour at open somewhere. Because as soon as Trump said thank you very much, the Democrats beat feet out of the House so fast you could see the dust cloud behind them. It looked like a Roadrunner commercial. By the time Trump had got off the podium to come down and shake hands, there wasn't a Democrat in the House. They ran as fast as they could. Last night showed one thing to the American public. The Democrats are not fit to lead. They couldn't run a lemonade stand. 2026 the election is about 18, 19 months away. There's a lot of Democrats that better be polishing up their resumes now. Because after last night's embarrassment, childish clown show showing, they ain't gonna have a job pretty soon. And that should make us all damned happy. Pinball out.